son was already doing well with a decent job, but she was money obsessed, so she was obviously trying to keep him under her control. So this became a huge argument that lasted over several months, to the point they were even bringing him to hospital claiming John lost his mind, etc. I still remember how whenever we just visited them, he would break down into tears randomly, and so my mum and my brothers would do their best to console him. based my answer on, although I know they're obviously not always accurate, so it could have been wrong. My dad gave me a confused and somewhat concerned look and told me he only got up around his usual 4 a.m. to feed our cats and dog. Yeah, I know waking up at 4 a.m. to do that sounds weird, but it's seriously something both my parents have always done. Sometimes hearing them, I'll wake up and go out to get a drink of water and talk with them. But anyways, hearing this definitely creeped me out. I have never known my dad to be a sleepwalker, so even that option didn't seem to fit. Yet I know that it was his figure that had been standing in my doorway the previous night. The morning went on and eventually I found myself outside, hanging out in our driveway. I don't really remember what I was doing, however. I remember looking down the hill where the main road is and seeing my dad walking down it. I was confused as he's not really the up and go walk kind of guy. I tried shouting down to him to get his attention, but he just kept walking until he was out of sight. But then I kid you not, my dad pops out of our kitchen coop having just finished taking care of that water and food for the day. I looked at him now completely freaked out and told him what I had just seen. He seemed almost equally as concerned, probably not only for what I told him, but for my well-being too. We both went inside and the day went on. Thankfully I've never experienced anything like this again, and I hope it stays that way. I have no idea what those things were that I saw, or why I was seeing them. I have been known to occasionally hallucinate at night when I'm overtired, but I can't recall any events around those dates that could have made me that exhausted. I'm also not one to believe in the supernatural, but I'm also having a hard time coming up with a plausible explanation for these events. I thought that there must be an explanation somewhere, but it's certainly not one that I know. But yeah, that's my creepy experience. So weird. It sounds like it was someone trying to basically mask as your dad and copy to look like your dad, which is absolutely terrifying. Okay, so this one is where someone's basically asking people on Reddit what's the scariest thing that's happened to you or someone you know on Halloween. So I'm just gonna read down the thread. When I was 5 or so, my parents purchased a piece of land from our neighbour whose house and yard were behind ours, basically making our backyard much larger. Part of that land included an old stone gazebo that dated back to around 1850. This was around 2000, so it was about 150 years old at the time, which were built in the 1950s. Oh wait, no, our neighbour didn't have a ton of information on the gazebo. It predated our house and ours, which were built in the 1950s and 1930s respectively. In fact, it predated the entire neighbourhood. The oldest houses were generally from the 1910s to 1920s, and previously the area had been used as a military testing site for mustard gas and other things during World War One. It certainly seems odd that this big 400 square foot gazebo was built basically in the middle of nowhere at that time, and also withstood the development of the surrounding area. Anyway, as soon as my parents bought the land, I started having horrible nightmares every night. In the nightmares, I would be standing in the yard at night and looking into the dark gazebo. I could just barely make out all those pained faces in the darkness, as if people were sitting on the floor of the gazebo screaming and crying. Sometimes the fireplace in there would be lit and I'd see someone jump into it. It freaked my mum out in particular because she was convinced I could sense things. My mum is a legit white-collar professional with no spiritual background, but she still thinks this about me to this day despite my disagreement. Lol. The nightmares were vivid though, and it's actually making me feel a little sick as I remember them. All of that said, you asked specifically about Halloween, which is where this gets weird. My parents started putting unlocked, I ran inside and slammed it shut. Leaning on the door, I breathed hard, deep, hard and heavy, then looked inside the living room. My parents and older brother staring at me. I tell them to look outside. They do, and she's talking in our yard. We all watch her from the safety of our window. She was a very beautiful creature, but I never want to be that close to the one in the wild again. I've had 2 other close encounters with mountain lions, but that was the closest and scariest. It was also the only encounter where I was alone. Jeez, that's terrifying. So little story is not technically Halloween night, but a few days before Halloween. I was 17 or 18 at the time, and there usually isn't much to do in our town at the age except go to this old abandoned factory that we used to go to all the time to explore and pretty much kill time. Well, me and a couple of buddies decided to go, and for once it was still kind of light out when we went. We did the usual, cross the road into the bushes and make a beeline to the first building. Well, this day it smelled like absolute death inside, and we all commented about it, and continued being a bunch of dudes, climbing on things, breaking bottles, being loud, etc. Then out of nowhere we started hearing loud bangs and almost a whimper sound, so we shut up and started listening and started to go towards the noise. Well, when we rounded the corner and found a homeless guy on the ground with heavy blood loss to his legs, and we immediately tried to help him, and he kept asking us if it's gone or if it is still around. We immediately called 911, and I took off my belt for a tourniquet. His legs looked like they went through a meat grinder, is all I can describe it. We figured rescue would have a hell of a time getting to where we were at all, so we all decided to just scoop him up and carry him out to the road. While in the panic and the struggle of carrying this big guy, I happened to look behind us and up to my right and seen the largest, hairy, black creature standing in a doorway on 2 feet, and the sun was just hitting it right, and I seeing the man's blood on his face and chest. We don't have bears where I'm located, and the only way I can describe it as if it was Bigfoot, but I don't believe in Bigfoot living in a suburb of a large city. Never knew what ever happened to that guy. The police never said anything, never asked us questions or nothing. That is so strange. What the heck? This story is called The Haunted Forest. This is a short true story. So, I was in the forest. I'm talking real deep into the forest, just me and my teenage friend. Hard to find, easy to get lost. I came across this strange hangout in the woods near the trees. It turns out this place has been turned into what looked like a ritual circle. There were cigarette butts all over the floor, a ton of empty soda cans and trash. There was a nail forcefully placed into the big tree in the middle centre with what me and my friend suggested was or looked like real blood. He touched it and said, "Yeah, that isn't tree sap, that's blood." To me it looked real, so watching us